are the frugal people. It takes a lot of discipline, but there seem to be a lot of benefits revolving around frugality if the internet has anything to say about it. But this got me thinking, what does psychology have to say about this notion of frugality? Is it really as positive as everyone is making it out to be? And what is the personality profile in regards to the big 5 personality traits of somebody who practices frugality? Frugality is this idea of really paying attention to where your money goes. Frugal people do spend money, but they're also really, really good at saving their money so that when they do spend it, it's on things that they really care about and really want. Frugal people are the ones who repair things around the house instead of just replacing them. They're the people who will make a shopping list, meal plan, cook things on a budget, and so on and so forth. It can kind of be thought of as the opposite of materialism, or just spending a lot of money because you want a lot of stuff. Now, I looked at a bunch of different research articles researching this video, trying to figure out what does the frugal person actually look like, and this is what I found out, so let's get into it. But first, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Sherry Krasaniak. I have a PhD in experimental psychology, and here at my channel we talk about, you guessed it, various psychology-related topics, including personality psychology, relationships, self-improvement, or just basically whatever happens to catch my attention in the world of psychology that day. In terms of personality, we're going to be looking at frugality in relation to the big 5 personality traits. If you've never heard of this, if you don't know what they are, I will go ahead and put my video up here. It was one of the first videos I ever recorded, so please be kind, but it'll kind of break down what the traits are and what you should expect from them. And as a super quick disclaimer, just know that all the research that I looked at to create this video is correlational. So just because you have a certain personality profile or you don't, is not going to cause you to be a frugal person or not a frugal person. It doesn't really work that way. These are just associations. So people who practice more frugal values tend to fit this sort of personality profile more so. But it's certainly not a causal relationship, so just keep that in mind. First, let's get the obvious one out of the way, the one that you probably already guessed before even clicking on this video. Frugal people tend to be more conscientious. I know, right? It's hard to believe that frugal people tend to be more focused, more goal-oriented. This makes sense because when you're conscientious, you're really good at, well, figuring out what your goals are and then kind of breaking them down into ways that make them more approachable, more realistic for you to reach them. Conscientious people tend to be more aware of potential issues within their environment simply because they pay attention to what's going on around them. If something changes within their environment, they're going to make a plan and they're going to prepare. And also very importantly, the conscientious person has an easier time staying committed to things because here's the thing, guys. Practicing frugality isn't exactly a whole lot of fun. I mean, it's not like you can just go out shopping whenever you want and buy whatever you want. You have to practice a lot of self-control. So this is far easier for the highly conscientious person compared to the less conscientious person. Now, here's an interesting one. Frugal people tend to be less extroverted. I was kind of surprised about this, but I think it actually makes sense if you think about it. One of the facets of extroversion is actually impulsivity. So this would be doing something because it comes to mind, or there's suddenly social pressure to do that behavior, and then you engage in it without really thinking about it. Whereas a frugal person will oftentimes take the strategy of sitting on a purchase for a couple of days before they actually go through with it, just to ensure that there is no chance of impulsivity taking over. The extroverted person is driven by this desire for social connections. So an extrovert is very likely to have a large group of friends. But this also comes with a caveat that there's going to be more social pressure to engage in certain types of behaviors. And I don't know about you, but oftentimes when I'm with friends, it doesn't usually involve doing things that are free. It involves going out to a coffee shop, going to the movies, getting something to eat. There's also more social comparisons that go on when you're spending so much time with other people. And I feel like extroverts can kind of fall into this trap of keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak, which, as we know, is hugely detrimental when you're trying to be frugal. Most of the time, frugality is not seen as something that is cool or trendy, so you kind of have to be okay with not being in line with what everybody else is doing. So it's definitely a tendency that is more suited to maybe the introverts compared to the extroverts. Here's another interesting one. Frugal people tend to be more agreeable. Now, the agreeable person, let's think about what that means. Agreeable people tend to want to get along well with others. They want to maintain social harmony. They want to do what's going to be best in the group's interest. Like the extroverted person, the agreeable person wants to be liked socially, but they go about this in a different way. They're going to go about this by engaging in more socially competent types of behaviors that benefit the group. They are big on cooperation. So if there are social ventures that will help the group, help the community in whatever way that is, they're going to be more likely to engage in that. Now, in connection to frugality, frugality tends to be connected with various socially conscious behaviors, such as wasting less, reusing things, being more environmentally friendly, recycling, and so on and so forth. So this fits very well into the notion of agreeableness. Frugality tends to predict less neuroticism. Now, this was kind of a mixed finding, I will admit. Not all studies found this, and I think that there's some complexity going on here. From what I could tell, it seems to be more the aspect of compulsive behavior that is associated with neuroticism that might lead these individuals to have less frugal tendencies. Think about it from this perspective. So if you are a highly neurotic individual and you experience a lot of ups and downs and you have a lot of negative emotions such as anxiety, depression, anger, whatever it might be, shopping could actually be a way for you to help calm yourself down. It could be a compulsive mechanism that you use to regulate your upsetting emotions. Now, this is certainly not a healthy way to deal with your emotions, which could sort of go into that feedback loop of worse mental health for the highly neurotic individual. But of course, this is just sort of my interpretation based on the finding, and not all studies even found this. So beyond just the big 5 personality traits, what else does frugality tell us about people? Well, first off, we know that frugal people tend to be more financially stable, and this makes sense. They know where every single dollar is coming from, and they know where every single dollar is going. They are careful with their money. They don't spend it recklessly, which generally speaking means that they tend to have more of it. Now, frugality was not clearly linked to happiness, but I will say that what I found was that materialism, or spending lots of money and getting lots of things, was linked to less happiness. So what this means is that, ironically enough, buying more stuff and spending more money might actually make you less happy. Frugal people also tend to be more financially satisfied with their situation, but not always. And I think this really makes sense too. So if you think about it, when you are frugal, this means that you know about your budget, you know about your money, you can feel secure in that, you can feel more satisfied with that. But there's a difference between being frugal because you're choosing to be frugal, and this is how you want to live your life, and you feel like it's going to help you get towards your goals, and then being frugal out of necessity. So for many of us right now, money is hard to come by. We are doing everything we can to try to make just a little bit more money to help make ends meet. So when frugality becomes a necessity, as opposed to something that we're doing because it feels right, it's something that we want to do, it could actually cause more stress as opposed to financial satisfaction. So while frugality does have a whole host of positive benefits when it comes to lifestyle and financial security and so on and so forth, it's not going to offset having adequate financial resources in the first place. So this wraps up my video about frugality and personality traits. Let me know in the comments down below if you've jumped on this frugality bandwagon yet. I know that I have, and I've actually been having a lot of fun with it, which is kind of weird, but I really like numbers, so maybe it's just a nerdy thing. Also tell me if your personality meshes with this frugality personality profile that I just described. And even if it doesn't, that's okay. Remember that all sorts of people can and are frugal. It just might be a bit easier or more natural for some types of people compared to others. Remember to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Ding that notification bell if you would like to be alerted as to when I upload videos in the future. And of course, make sure you are subscribed if you like my psychology content and you'd like to see more from me. Well, that's everything I have for you. I will see you next time. Bye, guys.